This person says, Tom, isn't there a law with penalty for employers who hire undocumented immigrants? Are any employers being held accountable? Of course, there are laws against hiring undocumented immigrants, but there are also ways that you can hire undocumented immigrants legally in the United States of America. If an undocumented immigrant goes to the IRS and asks for an ITIN number, an individual taxpayer identification number, it doesn't replace a Social Security number. It's laid out like a Social Security number, but it's an individual taxpayer identification number. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to work at a job where you get a taxable paycheck if you're not legal to work in this country, if you don't have a Social Security or you're not legal to work in this country. So millions of undocumented immigrants do and can work legally in this country for a company as long as they have an ITIN number. But here's the deal. You want to know why companies are not really being held accountable? And just so that we're clear, that includes companies like the Trump Organization, where a shit ton of undocumented immigrants work at his clubs. A shit ton. Let's not anybody pretend like Donald Trump is over there running an above board clean operation. Fuck no. A shit ton of undocumented. It's been well documented how many undocumented immigrants work at Trump properties. But the reason why the federal government doesn't really crack down on employers who knowingly hire undocumented immigrants is because of all of that money. It's been this way for generations, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Not even with 4 years of Donald Trump. It's not going to change. These workers either get an ITIN number and they get a job with a taxable paycheck, or they buy fake documents. They buy fake green cards and fake Social Security numbers and fake driver's licenses, and they go to work for companies. That's the way it used to be way back in the day when I was in landscaping. People would come into the country illegally, and for about $1,100 back in the day, you could get all three documents: a fake driver's license, a fake green card, and a fake Social Security card. And you would go apply it, in my instance, right, some landscape company, and they would take copies of all your identification that looks like the real thing, and they would put you to work, and then they would send all that documentation off to the government, and about 3-4 months later, the company would get something that was called a does not match letter. Back in the day, we're talking 20, 30, however many years ago it was, the company would get a does not match letter. And basically that letter says, hey, the name that you provided doesn't match the Social Security number you provided. Now, you would think that's where the federal government would kick in and go, you need to get rid of this fucking person, or X, Y, and Z will happen to you, but that didn't happen. The does not match letter is where it ended. It was basically informative. Hey, just to let you know, you probably have an undocumented immigrant working for you. So why didn't the federal government take any steps further? Because all of those workers were working and getting a taxable paycheck, which means Social Security was getting deducted from their paycheck, and Medicare and Medicaid and unemployment and all of that shit. And that person was never going to claim that stuff because they're undocumented, and A, they'd get caught, B, they'd get deported. So they just don't claim that shit. It's free money. And it's why neither the Republicans nor the Democrats have really been serious about solving the immigration problem, because hundreds of billions of dollars are flowing into the federal government, and it's free money. If Donald Trump is successful and he deports all of these undocumented, he deports 20, 30, 40 million undocumented immigrants, however many are here in the United States of America, not only is it going to have a devastating effect on our workforce and the cost of goods in general, it is going to have a devastating effect, a biblical negative effect on the amount of money the federal government brings in. In other words, it will blow the deficit out of the fucking water. Whatever the fuck the deficit is now will be chicken shit compared to what it'll be if you successfully deport 30 million undocumented immigrants, because all that free money is no longer going to the federal government. The federal government can't use that free money to pay its bills, which means our deficit grows even bigger. If Donald Trump is successful in what he says he's going to do, he will have the largest deficit of any president in American history, period.